resistance, not exile, opposition, not exile, and the proper use of the federal courts, yes, federal courts and attorney generals around the country to restrain unbridled, unchecked power by Donald Trump and MAGA, who swept to power on the other side of Tuesday. I'm Michael Popok. You're on the New Legal AF YouTube channel. We built this for a reason. I'm going to outline for you the path forward as free-thinking people in this community who are now in resistance to Donald Trump and the hard lurch to the right and to the red by the American electorate demonstrated last night, and how we rebuild and recover using the court system. I sit at the intersection of law and politics, and let me break it down to you. Sure, we're all shocked and surprised that Kamala Harris, in just 2.5 months of being the candidate, couldn't overcome Donald Trump and MAGA, who spent the last 4 years in exile rebuilding their tools and their weapons to try to reclaim power, to make this a culture war instead of one around the economy and the dignity of women and the dignity of immigrants. It became a culture war instead, and we lost it. That doesn't mean we're lost. It means now we're in opposition. We're in the party of resistance. Here's how the court systems are going to play a role. Let's set aside for a minute the criminal prosecutions from Donald Trump. Half of them are now dead. Right? Federal prosecutions of Donald Trump are now dead. They leave in their wake some terrible United States Supreme Court decisions about immunity. We'll leave that for another hot take. State prosecutions still alive. In fact, Donald Trump is going to be sentenced to something at some point on the 26th of November. Likely have his sentence stayed until after he gets out in 4 years. But we have that going on with Judge Merchan in New York. But we have to take a page out of the Republican book of going after favorable federal district courts located in favorable states up to favorable circuits to flood the zone, bring constant lawsuits, weekly lawsuits if you have to, as the party in resistance. There are remaining states, federal districts, that are favorable to progressives and Democrats, and we have to use them. New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, California, these, DC, these are the places that we should bring suits trying to find favorable judges. From there up to favorable courts of appeal. I know it's hard to believe there are favorable courts of appeal, but there are. The 9th over California and things on the West Coast. The 2nd over New York. The 3rd, the 1st, the DC Circuit. We should be flooding the zone as public interest groups, political action committees, the Democratic National Committee, and other groups, i.e. Midas Touch, bringing suits in favorable states to favorable judges up to favorable circuits. That is a page out of the other party's playbook that has been played successfully. We got to do the same thing, and better, and better. We've got election lawyers on our side that are excellent. We know how to file lawsuits in these various places. So federal courts, to try to get a favorable federal ruling at a circuit that's favorable up to the United States Supreme Court and just flood the zone. Attorney generals on the state side are going to play a role to try to check the worst instincts of Donald Trump and the people around Donald Trump. For anybody that thinks they have now a license to criminality, attorney generals are going to have to step in on that. We can't rely on the federal Department of Justice being headed by somebody handpicked by Donald Trump, who may even be a former criminal or an indicted criminal like Jeff Clark or Rudy Giuliani. We can't count on them to protect voting rights, women's rights, immigration rights, civil rights, protect us against police brutality, and all of that. It's going to have to be left to the attorney generals to the fullest extent of their powers to go after and investigate these things. So attorney generals are going to continue to play a tremendous role. State prosecutors, they may not be able to go after Donald Trump, but they can go after other people in his cabinet and around him if they commit crimes. So we've got state attorney generals, state prosecutors are going to play an outsized role in the resistance. These federal judges, the ones appointed by Obama and Clinton and Biden And even the moderates that were appointed by Reagan and Bush, get ready, cases are coming your way. And attorney generals like the ones in Arizona, right? The ones in Michigan, the ones in Wisconsin, anywhere where we have a Democratic attorney general. It's 23 states where the Democrats are in control of the state house. We have to use these places, especially as they continue their assault on voting rights and making the changes about how votes are counted, how registrations are collected, voting hours. We've got to work to rebuild voting structure in this country, and we can do it from the inside. That's the role of the court systems up to the Supreme Court. Then we got to rely on Congress, and that's where the media and social media and platforms like Legal AF and the Midas Touch Network come in handy. The ProPublicas of the world, the Midas Touches of the world, the court accountabilities of the world. We have to expose here on Legal AF. We have to expose out of mainstream, far right, MAGA, inappropriate candidates for cabinet positions, federal court, all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, right? And that's from the outside. That's the free press, the free media, investigative reporting, bringing it to you here in an independent network. That's something we can do and we have to do. We can't let mainstream media, corporate media, normalize right conduct against the rule of law, normalize the crazy. We've got to call it out regularly, and mobilize around it. Then the party that's now the minority party within the Congress, Senate, and House have to work strong in opposition using every parliamentary tool, every rule that it has to oppose cabinet members, judges, Supreme Court justices that are extreme. And they're going to be extreme. So get ready, Hakeem Jeffries. Get ready, Nancy Pelosi. You got a job to do still. Get ready, Chuck Schumer, because you're going to have to be, and AOC and another generation of Democrats that need to come in and step up, because you are going to have to be a party in resistance, a party in opposition. I don't care if you have to filibuster as much as you can, everything that you can to stop these things from happening. So we have that going on because we have to be able to have a bulwark against the implementation of Project 2025. So I've outlined the role of courts, but courts only are activated by suits. Suits are only activated by committed people in resistance and law firms and lawyers. So I call upon the legal profession to do its job on the Democratic side, on the progressive side, to protect democracy. Right? Democracy right now is in a cage. It's been captured by a populist strain, a virulent populist strain of MAGA, right? We have to find a way to get it out of the cage. And it starts with the court system and flooding the zone, right? It's like a sporting event. That person's trying to score on you. You make them feel it, right? They may score on you, but you make them feel it. You throw an elbow. You throw a forearm, right? Within the rules, so to speak. We got to do that again. And if we do that, and we use this next 2 years to rebrand the party, right? Not our ideals. Don't lose our ideals. Don't lose our values, but rebrand the party so that we're seen as good hands and stewards for the economy, for defense, for immigration policy, for women's rights. But we also focus on the pocketbook issues. It's the economy, stupid, has been a governing phrase, an electing phrase for a long, long time for a good reason, all dating back to Bill Clinton. We've lost our way a little bit on focusing on how we're going to make everybody's life better in America. And we've allowed the other side to rebrand us as a party of the extreme social, moral, and other issues. Yes, we're the bigger tent. We are the biggest tent. Yes, we are humane. Yes, we are dignified. But we also have to show that we can govern and pull the levers of power on issues of policy that matter to everyday Americans, as we just saw. Let's just call it out for a minute. We just saw, at least for this election, it may be a temporary insanity, but we just saw in this election a tremendous lurch to the right and to MAGA, state by state, county by county, even in places where we won. Even in the places where Kamala Harris prevailed, she did less well, mainly, than Joe Biden. She did less well Donald Trump did better even in blue states. He did exceedingly well by multiple, like 5 and 10 points in red states, and states that we thought at one time were purple or blue in recent memory are now hard, bright red. Florida. I sort of knew we were in trouble last night when Florida went so quickly and so overwhelmingly for Donald Trump by like 10 points. I said, uh-oh. Uh-oh. I mean, I know we hope maybe we could keep it to 1 or 2 or 3 points when I lived there, but 10 points and every place went hard right. Now, can we correct? Yes, as a group, a community, a channel, a network in resistance and opposition, not in exile. And that's the big difference. And how we use the courts, right? It is a tool at our disposal. I'm going to continue to follow everything and call. We're going to be proactive here on Legal AF and on the Midas Touch Network about how to advance our agenda, how to control Donald Trump, how to reinstall and reinstate the rule of law in this country so that we survive on the other side of Donald Trump through the court system, the state courts, the attorney generals, the prosecutors, the federal courts that are favorable to us, that go up to the federal circuits that are favorable to us, and then put it front and center over and over and over again at the United States Supreme Court. Pressurize, pressurize, pressurize. And for that, we need energy. We need, it sounds terrible to be talking about enthusiasm. It sounds like an oxymoron or whatever, that, hours after we woke up from Tuesday, we got no choice. That is the power and the movement that we are now a part of, whether we like it or not. A group, a community of resistance and opposition, not of exile. We are not going into the wilderness, hoping we get recalled back to govern this country. We're staying right here. We're staying right here with the court systems that we have access to and the lawyers that we know that are great and the groups like this that we know are committed and clear-eyed about what is at stake and what we can do going forward as we move to the correction moment. The first correction moment is, of course, by voters at the midterm, right? And we will be there by your side here on Legal AF. Take a moment, hit the subscribe button. We're creating a durable, lasting institution of a channel, a community here. Pro-democracy in collaboration with the Midas Touch Network. So until my next contribution, I'm Michael Popok, and I am reporting. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.